Hi, my name is Chet here from Avion Technology here in the Chicagoland area. We are a web design development company based out of Arlington Heights, which is in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. I do these little lectures for many reasons. To kind of fight my boredom in the afternoon so that I don't fall asleep. But jokes apart, I do these little lectures as kind of, small pearls of wisdom, especially for a non technology kind of an audience. I graduated school in 2005, and one of my habits, which has actually held me in good stead, was that I make an effort to learn something or read something new every day. What that does do is that every day you build a certain, uh, incremental wisdom on top of what you knew till yesterday. So every day you go to bed a little wiser than what you were yesterday. What that does is over a span of 5, 10, 15 years, you end up accumulating so much wisdom, you end up accumulating so much knowledge that, knowledge is, it can never do you any harm, right? The more knowledge you have, um, the better you're going to be. In fact, if you look at the world, everything is based on knowledge. We live in a knowledge economy today. Um, the difference between a person who is in the top 1%, a person who makes 800,000 thousand a year and 1 million a year, and a person who makes 80,000 a year, is oftentimes knowledge, right? The person who makes a lot of money has invested the time and effort to accumulate knowledge, and that kind of pays off in terms of salary. A lot of times, while we feel that the world is unjust to us, while we feel that there is injustice and everyone thinks that they deserve more than what they are getting, the reality is that it's always a demand supply situation. If your knowledge, if your skill sets are easily replaceable, you are going to be way down in the value chain. And as opposed to that, the more knowledge you have and the more irreplaceable you are, the higher you will be in that value chain, right? And the end result being that, uh, you know, usually there's an abundant supply of folks who know very little, and usually there's a scarcity of folks who know a lot. So folks who know a lot, or who have concentrated within a particular niche, they usually command a lot of fees, or they command a lot of salary, a higher salary. And the reason being that there is just not enough of them, right? Whereas if you're working as a checkout person in Walmart, and I'm not degrading that, you need people in checkout in Walmart, right? Otherwise the economy will not function. But the reality is that someone who's working in checkout in Walmart is easily replaceable. Your orthopedic surgeon is not easily replaceable. You and I cannot do a knee replacement surgery. So the first thing I always say is that, spend some time every day in accumulating knowledge, because the more knowledge you accumulate, the more irreplaceable you will get. And the more irreplaceable you are, the more you'll move up the value chain. And the higher you move up the value chain, the more salary or fees, or fees you will command, just because it's a demand supply situation, right? So today I'm going to talk about something which is, it's kind of ethical, or it kind of has to do with morality. So one of my favorite kind of arguments is this whole thing about offshoring, and whether offshoring works, whether it doesn't work, whether it is ethical, whether it is not ethical. And oftentimes, uh, I compare it a lot to flying, right? Um, how you fly is a function of how much money you're willing to spend to get from destination A to destination B. If you don't have enough money, if you're a student, if you're on a tight budget, you will fly a low cost airline, right? Because really all that matters to you is getting from destination A to destination B. You don't want to sit in a lounge before and after, or in the middle. You don't want an a la carte, or you don't want entrees and desserts and champagne and caviar and chocolates. You just, maybe if you get a meal, that's a bonus, but all you are really concerned with is getting, to place B from place A. The ride is often not the best. There's not enough leg room. You can't recline your seat, so it's a bumpy ride. It's definitely not an enjoyable ride. You don't look forward to it at all. When you reach the destination, you're tired, you're weary. Sometimes your bags get misplaced. The flight is often delayed, but you get where you want to get. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have first class travelers, right? I don't know how many of you have ever flown first class, but if you fly first class, you get treated like royalty. When you get into the airport, there's a separate check-in for you. You go to a lounge, which is like a five-star hotel, and then once you're in the lounge, you have people who come to you and say, "Oh, your flight is at this time, sir. Please get ready." So and then you go to the plane and you board the plane, and it's like a completely different experience. It's like a five-star hotel in the sky. Now, would you say that the first one is ethical and the second one is not ethical, or the second one is ethical and the first one is not ethical? No, right? Everything is a function of how much you're willing to spend for a particular experience. It's like saying that buying a Hyundai is not ethical and buying a Mercedes is ethical. No, it's not. It depends on how much money you're willing to spend for that experience. So I look at the whole argument about outsourcing and offshoring versus doing something in the US in the same way, right? At the top, you have, getting someone on your payroll and getting that developer, and that developer comes to your office and he develops your your website or your app, or your whatever you're planning to build. He does that sitting right next to you, right? That's like flying first class. And business class is going to your local digital agency down the block, and you can meet them once a week in person, but there's a certain price associated with that. Then third is premium economy, and that's where companies like Avion come into play, where we do a majority of the development offshore, but we do the project management and the UI UX and the testing in the US. But we're definitely not the cheapest ones, at least compared to the guys who do everything purely offshore. And purely offshore is like flying economy, right? It's the cheapest, but not necessarily the best experience. You have communication issues, you have quality issues, you have design issues, you have attention to detail issues, you have deadline issues. So there's a lot of issues. I think the problem is not choosing one of these. You can choose whichever one that you feel is best suited for you. I think the problem is in being delusional. I think that's the problem. If you don't have money, and if you choose to go with someone who's giving you $15 an hour or $10 an hour, these days I've even heard of $5 an hour, then you have signed on to fly economy. And sometimes it's not just economy, it's like no frills economy, it's like Frontier, it's like Spirit, it's like even worse than Spirit. So that's a conscious choice that you have made, right? When you say that you want to have something at $15 per hour. Now, when that $15 per hour, I've been working in India, or I've had a development team in India for the last 17 years, so I know that in a lot of the bigger towns in India, $15 an hour really doesn't make the cut either. It's more towards $25, $30 an hour. So when someone gives you a $15 per hour rate in India, they're not even from one of the big cities. Your work is happening in some backwater somewhere, with staff who don't speak English, whose technology and whose infrastructure and security is all questionable. But that's a conscious choice that you have made when you go to someone who says that I can complete this work for $800, at $15 an hour. And at the other end of the spectrum, you can choose to get someone on board as either a consultant or on your payroll, and pay him $12,000 a month to develop, what someone else would have taken $5,000. That person might end up doing it for $30,000. But again, that's like flying first class, right? That's the experience. So my take on this is always, be reasonable, right? Know what you can afford, and know what experience you're going to get for the price that you can afford. If you're going to pay economy or even discounted economy, don't expect first class service. Don't expect business class service. You're not going to get it. You're going to probably get a guy with broken communication, broken English, little attention to detail, quality issues, and deadline issues. But that's what you signed up for. At the other end of the spectrum, as you always see, even in first class you just have like what, maybe 12 seats, 15 seats. So if you choose to fly first class, you should also know that you might not get the flight that you want because the seats are already filled up. The fact is that in the US, we don't produce enough developers. And because of all the the bad rap that is associated with the H-1B visas, and which frankly I'll do another video on that. It's something that I've never understood, why a country like the US, which has a shortage of developers, should make it so hard for someone who knows development and who has a STEM background to come in and work. I don't know why we make it so hard, but again, that's a topic for another day. But the fact is that if you want someone to come to your office and work from your office, you're going to have the hardest time finding a developer, especially in cities like Chicago or the Silicon Valley, where there's such an acute shortage of developers. So you might have a lot of money, you might be ready to sign a check, but you're just not going to find a developer. So be cognizant of which band you fit in. Are you an economy class flyer with an absolute bootstrap budget with no frills, and you just want to somehow make it to your destination? That's a conscious choice. Go with the guy who quotes you the least amount for your project, and it's not going to be the best experience. It might, but it probably won't be. But that's what you've signed up for. Or you might want to have someone on your payroll, but then good luck trying to find that developer, especially if it's within a niche technology. I have seen the middle two options work in most of the situations. A is when you're going to a local digital agency down the block, because more often than not they have the developers and they have the technology skills required to get you to where you want. Or B, going with someone like Avion, who has a hybrid approach, where you have your project management, your UI UX, and your testing on site, so you can actually meet a person. But a lot of times the programming and the coding and the heavy lifting happens offshore, and so that's a lot like, I would say, flying premium economy. Premium economy, I've seen, is often the best choice because it gets you comfort, it gets you where you want to go, it gets you there on time, and at the same time it's a pleasurable ride. So this was Chet here from Avion Technology, just discussing to you the class system within development. I hope you like this video. I hope it was informative. If you liked what I said, press the like button. If you want to share it, please share it. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. I'm from Avion Technology. We are here in the Chicagoland area. We do websites, we do apps, and we have a hybrid model where we have 20% of our staff here in the US, 80% of our staff overseas, and we get clients. We deliver our end product at a fraction of our competition while maintaining the same quality that you'd expect from a local US company. Thank you so much, and with this I'll say goodbye. It's Friday, I'm off, and I hope you guys have a great weekend too. Thank you so much. Bye bye.